Howdy folks, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another advanced tutorial episode of War in the East 2. This is the first out of two advanced tutorials I am planning to prepare dealing with the logistics. And also this tutorial is, let's say, partially linked to the previous one about assault armies, even though I preferred not to talk about this when preparing the assault armies tutorial. And this, of course, deals with managing the supply priorities. Supply priorities can be, as a reminder, can be easily visualized by clicking on this button or by pressing Ctrl P, and the different, let's say, squares surrounding your counters on the map gives you a very easy and very visual let's say situation of the supply priorities of your units. And again, as a brief reminder, there are 4 levels of supply priorities, and the higher you go, the higher the attrition on your vehicles pool will be. And this has some, let's say, some interesting and important consequences, especially when you have to micromanage the supply priority of your mobile units. Assuming that you know already how to open, let's say, the very first turn as the axis, what you will have, or what you should have at the end, is a situation in which, for instance, the 3rd and 2nd Panzer groups are deep inside the Soviet territory, and you have recreated the Bialystok-Minsk pocket. Now, assuming that you just use your foot-borne infantry to open a gap in the enemy lines, and then you use your mobile ones to just surround to surround the enemy troops within the Bialystok-Minsk area, what you end up with is a situation in which your panzer and motorized infantry divisions will have expended just a lot of their fuel, but they will still retain plenty of their ammunition and of their general supplies. Which means that you do not need to set the supply priority of the 3rd and 2nd Panzer group, I mean also of the 4th and the 1st one as well, to the level 4 priority. Because what will happen? It will happen that because your units are now so far away from the closest supply depots, your units will use their trucks, their vehicles, from their pool to drive back to the closest depot and then grab as much freight as they need, which will then be converted into, in this case, fuel. And if you keep going this way, if you keep, let's say, using your own unit's vehicle pool, you will witness a progressive reduction of your unit's movement points, which in turn will hamper your future maneuvers for turn number 2, 3, or 4, or even later turns. And how do you, let's say, circumvent this? Well, the easiest way to do is to lower the supply priority of your mobile troops at the end of turn number 1, to make sure that, yes, they will still receive freight, they will still receive fuel, but hopefully the consumption of vehicles will be much lower than the ones that occurs when you leave the supply priority, for instance, of the 3rd and the 2nd Panzer group to level 4. And on the contrary, what I like to do is to set the supply priority of my assault armies, which, as you've seen in the previous tutorial, they are mostly infantry-rich armies, to level 3, if not even level 4, because it will be the infantry doing the bulk of the job, the bulk of the fighting, taking the highest losses. So the more losses my infantry takes, the more freight, the more replacements, and the more ammunition my infantry needs to be brought back to full strength and to get a combat value as high as possible, to break through the lines that the Soviet AI will, let's say, will attempt to make to stop my advance. And there are two other concepts that I wanted to briefly touch. The season, the time of the year, when there is the thaw season. So in, let's say, the rain season and the thaw season. So in the months between late September and November, and between March and May. Um, before this phase and before this period, and especially before the fall, the rain season in late September and November, you want to make sure that your units are well fed. And how do you do this? Well, on one hand, you will have to micromanage your depots, and we will talk about this in the next tutorial. On the other hand, you may want to set the supply priority of all of your armies to level 3, if not even level 4. And in this way, you are sure that before the mud season hits your logistics, your units will be well prepared and well equipped and well fed to face the incoming onslaught of the Soviet winter counteroffensive. Otherwise, again, if you increase the supply priority during the mud season, you will suffer plenty of vehicle losses due to the attrition, due to the mud, maybe even due to the partisans if they are, let's say, running wild behind your lines. One short thing that I didn't mention in the Italian tutorial is that, for instance, you have to be very flexible, of course, and by being flexible it means to use your brain. Like, assuming a situation in which you have taken Leningrad and you have deployed the 18th Army between Lake Ilmen and Lake Ladoga, you may even want to reduce the supply priority of the 18th Army, screening this sector to, I don't know, level 2 or even level 1, because the task of the 18th Army will be just to hold the Volkhov river line here, and you don't need, honestly, that many supplies to defend this line over here. While if you are, let's say, in 1942 and you are advancing in the Caucasus, you may want to increase the supply priority of the armies operating in this area to level 3 or even level 4, and the ones of Army Group Center to maybe level 3 or even level 2. And there is one last thing that, let's say, I wanted to mention, and this is actually considered a cheat in War in these two, and is based on the limitation of the logistic system of this game. And this can be very useful, especially for the Soviet player, and this is the reason of why this is banned from MP games. And this is also one very smart observation that one of you folks made in one of the let's say, tutorial for new players. And this involves in setting from day one, from turn number 1, all of your HQ supply priority to level 4 straight away. And you can easily do it by going in the commander's report in the HQ section. Here I have already selected just the HQs on the map, and you can go here. You see here they all have different supply priorities. You can set all of them to the supply priority of level 4, and what happens is that when you have a high demand of freight, your national supply centers sources will start producing more freight. They will keep pumping out more freight. Because this is how the system works, and this can be very, let's say, beneficial for the Soviet players when the Soviet players are, let's say, holding out the last line of defense in front of Moscow. If they set every HQ here to the supply priority level 4, they just won't have any problem in getting super overpowered units with which to launch a counterattack against the Germans, because they have the supply national supply source here, and they can easily request as much freight as they need. And yeah, this is why this, let's say, cheat is banned in multiplayer, where I think the highest supply priority that people usually agree to set is level 3, at least in 1941. And yeah, that's already it for this advanced tutorial. I hope you guys learned something new. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you all in the next tutorial, in which I will talk more about depots. Until then, folks, I wish you all the best, and I'll see you all in the next episode.